This is the Final Word Cricket Podcast. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon. It's our second weekly of the week, episode 23 of season 19. We are going bi-weekly, as it were. We did one 2 days ago. We knew this was an insane week for cricket news. We had two interviews, one with Heather Knight, which you would have heard a couple of days ago, about the rebranded London Spirit, and one with Glenn Maxwell coming up later in the program. Glenn is now a T20 franchise co-owner in Ireland, which deserves discussion, and he rattles through what that means for him. A lot more in that vein as well. More Big Bash stuff, of course, but the Bangladesh T20 World Cup participation or otherwise, that's our main story today. Some more chaos in the States. There are a couple of ICC tournaments running at the moment, a T20 qualifier and an under-19s Men's World Cup. There's the Women's Premier League rattling along, as is the SA20, as they both reached a pointy end. Afghanistan are starting a T20 league. Ireland are starting a T20 league. Everybody's starting a T20 league. Jeff Lemon, are you starting a T20 league today?
I am starting a T20 league. No, let's make it a 5-over league. T10 has had it too good for too long. It's time to start the F5, not the F45. That would be something else. That would be a gym franchise. But it's time. It's time. Let's start let's league it up. You know, we usually play 30 overs, don't we, when our teams roll out?
I've got a strong view. I've got a strong view that the 30 over format is underrated because you can play two innings back to back, quick 10-minute changeover on the acceptance that most games you're bowling at about 16 overs an hour in normal cricket. That means the entire game of cricket is wrapped up in 4 hours, and then you go and have your afternoon tea afterwards. You know, so whilst I love nothing more than a declaration game played out over 6.5 hours, I love that as my favourite, recreational format. My second favourite format is the 30 over. You know, it's a bit more substantial. Anyway, all of that is ahead of me in the England summer, where I've been furiously fixturing for Oval Dream Boys. You can see on my badge here. If you want to play for us, let us know. We recruited out of the podcast a couple of weeks ago, Jeff, when I put that ad up, so to speak, saying come play for us. Someone got in touch, and now they're with us. So these things can sometimes work. We've got a final word game coming up in. Is it 3 days from now?
Couple of days, yeah. Sunday, that will be the Sunday the 25th at Birchgrove Oval in Sydney, one of the most spectacular cricket grounds in the world, with the harbour and the harbour bridge and all of that as the backdrop. The running of the bull sharks, as it's called, at the end of the game, where you'd run down and jump in the drink after a hot, sticky Sydney day. I think Birchgrove was mostly underwater a few days ago, so hopefully the incredible, it was like 70 mils of rain or something that day that came through certain parts of Sydney. So hopefully that's cleared. It'll be 40-something degrees in Melbourne over that period of time. Who knows what we're going to get in Sydney, but we'll be there. We've got a team pretty much sorted out. They don't know it yet, but I know who they are. And we've got a big retinue coming down to set up the commentary box, the reconstituted box of dreams, the couch, the streaming facility, all the rest of it. I think you can tune in from anywhere around the world.
I will. I won't even need my NordVPN. I will tune in. I hear my great mate, Patrick Strappy Hargraves, is going to do some commentary. Last time we did commentary, it was very amusing. So I'll plug in for that.
He might be needed in whites. In fact, Patrick,
right. Well, he wants to play.
You might be getting a call up.
I know he wants to play, but I think he'll back himself to do both roles. Well, that's great. What I will say, having gone to Birchgrove and briefly seen some of our friends having a game recently, it's an even better backdrop than I thought it was. So get down, have a look, be part of it on Sunday. Jeff, I'm not sure if Sunday's when the Big Bash final is. It might be. The Big Bash, we are well and truly into the McIntyre Final 5 final series. I think that's what they're using. We've seen the Stars felled in a rainy one by the Canes. We've seen Sam Harper at the back of that be named the player of the tournament. Get the man to India in his bare head. I will not stop on this campaign until it happens. We will manifest it. But there's the Sixers gone as well. We were kind of following that game half-heartedly when recording a couple of days ago, but you picked it up afterwards.
Yes. Well, so things are going on. Well, there's another game tonight, Adam, to decide whether the Sixers are gone or not. So by the time this goes out, it will be. So the Sixers lost the game to the Scorchers. That is the one that decides who goes straight into the final. So
the second semi-final. I love it. They had the double chance today, the Sixers. Okay. Sorry. I didn't realise
exactly
that. Please
that.
Continue.
Exactly that. So that's the way things worked out there. It was a pacey pitch at Perth, and it was bouncing a lot, and Jumpin' Jai Richardson has got the wheels turning. He's back into the 140s at last, but more to the point, Marley Beardman, who was quick. So Steve Smith was the only one holding it together, essentially, for the Sixers. But He was eventually knocked over by Beardman, who's rapid and who got the ball to climb. And then, as you said, the straight knockout was Hobart versus Melbourne Stars. We are speaking to Glenn Maxwell later on the show. We've already recorded that. At that time, his team had not lost the game, so he was probably a bit more cheerful than he will be right now, because right now they have lost that game and they got dudded. They came out for a 10-over chase and then it rained again, so it got reduced to 7, and that sort of screwed up what they might have done with the batting order and all the rest of it. So, they're out, and the Sixers will play to see if they can get into the final.
Yes, I'm told by Tuvs in our production window here, that's tomorrow night. So the preliminary final tomorrow night.
Not tonight, tomorrow night, yes.
The Canes and the Sixers. I saw that scorecard. Yeah. I saw that scorecard. If Maxi's only faced 4 balls, it probably hasn't gone the way you want it to go. And that's because he was in at the end, by the way, not that he was dismissed. He hit a 6, and that was that. So the nature of short-form cricket. I know
it looks closer than it was, because the hotel came in and was outrageous, drilled a couple of cover drives for 4 and then smacked one of the biggest sixes you've ever seen in 3 balls and got them within. So they could have won with 6 off the last ball, but Cartwright had got them closer than really they were in a position to be at that point.
Yeah. I know he'll be gutted too. I interviewed him for SEN during the tournament, Glenn, that is, and it's we're not as invested in the T20 tournaments as others are in other podcasts and other parts of the cricket media, but he desperately wants to win a Big Bash, Glenn. So the wait will continue. If he does get one day, if it's gets there in his final season or whatever it is, that would be like Shane Crawford in 2008, Jeff, or other players that have done it in their final game. That would be a special thing. But it won't be in the season of 25-26. Jeff, the main bit we wanted to do today, the reason we split up the show, actually, to be honest, is because we knew the Bangladesh story was only going to get hotter between sort of Tuesday, our normal recording window, and Thursday. So here we are. Perhaps, Jeff, just brief us on what's happening. Give us the facts. Give us exactly what's happened, and then we can get into the analysis thereafter.
Okay, so Bangladesh don't want to play the T20 World Cup in India because India sacked one of their players from playing in the IPL. India for years have banned Pakistan players. So it's kind of not exactly formal, but everybody understands that you are not to do it. They don't get put in the auction, and they don't get hired to play for the teams. After very very early in the comp, it was a little different, but in all of the recent years, that's the way it's turned out. That appears to now extend to Bangladesh players. There are fewer Bangladesh players getting picked up, but there was the Fizz was going to play for Calcutta. He's not anymore, but he was put in the auction and recruited and then booted out. So it was like India's government making a point of excluding him and saying that since we're having disagreements with the Bangladeshi government at the moment, we're going to make sure that that you're not welcome here. So Bangladesh have got the shits at that, and they've said, well, then we don't want to go to India to play the World Cup. And this has been going back and forth because half of it's being played in Sri Lanka. So they're saying, why can't we go and play in Sri Lanka? So they've been having meetings with the ICC. It turns out one of the things per reporting that's come through that stopped them being able to move into a group in Sri Lanka was Sri Lanka themselves saying, well, we don't want Bangladesh coming into our group, because Sri Lanka and Bangladesh have very much bad blood in recent times as well. But I think Sri Lanka are recognising that they've already got Australia in the group, and then they've got some teams that they would expect to beat on a normal day. But if they bring Bangladesh in, suddenly you're making it a tougher group. You swap Bangladesh out for Ireland, say, then Sri Lanka are a better chance of not making it out of the group stage if things go wrong for them there. So it would disadvantage them. That's part of the reason that it's been shut down. But essentially,
was there any chance of them moving another group to Sri Lanka, or was that never?
Not moving a whole group, because that's 5 teams, and then you've got the logistics of an entire, swapping one team would be one thing, but moving an entire 5 teams, then there's the knock-on effect of, and some of them are doing a split, like some, say, India are playing a game in Sri Lanka, but they're playing the rest of their games in India. So you've got groups that are entirely based in Sri Lanka and groups that are back and forth. So this is where things had got to with the ICC. The Bangladesh board had gone back and forth a few times asking for the move. The move kept being denied. Where it's at now is where, literally as we're recording, the Bangladesh Cricket Board is talking to the Bangladesh government to get one final directive from them, because they've been told final warning from the ICC, no dice, you're not getting moved. You've got a few hours to go and sort it out with your government and tell us if you're playing or not. If you're not playing, Scotland will come in and play instead. That's the only way that you can participate in the World Cup, is if you fulfil your fixtures. So just to be clear on one thing, the Bangladesh Cricket Board are citing security concerns for not wanting to go and travel in Calcutta. This is pretty obviously bullshit. There is no specific security concern. They're pissed off that their player got kicked out of the IPL, and it's a wounded dignity thing. It's a pride thing to say, well, you can't push us around. On another perspective, I don't think that's necessarily an unreasonable position to take, to say, well, why should the Indian board via the Indian government via the Indian board be the one that gets to decide who's allowed to be part of the broader cricketing fraternity? Because as we know, it's not just who plays in the IPL, it's who plays in all of the other franchise leagues around the world that are increasingly being owned by the IPL, or at least partly owned by the IPL. So, this would be a question that people should be putting to Cricket Australia when they're talking about privatising their tournament. At the moment, some of the biggest international stars in the Big Bash are Pakistan players. Haris Rauf has been sensational this season. Babar Azam's provided a lot of the talking points. Are those players going to be banned from the Big Bash, or unofficially banned, ghost banned, shadow banned from the Big Bash once they start selling the teams to IPL conglomerates? This all comes together.
It's a worthy question. I mean, this is kind of what I said the other day around the 100, right? I mean, I think it'll be seen as an enormous error that the ECB didn't put their foot down when they were selling the 100 franchises about changing the names of the teams. Will CA be willing to put their foot down when the time comes about, prospective mission creep that you're describing there? So, it's one thing for it to be the IPL, but it's another thing for Australia to have autonomy, or Australian teams to have autonomy. Or even just that, like you say, shadow ban. What if a team gets sold to an IPL franchise and they just decide never to pick a Pakistan player in the Big Bash?
Well, they will.
The
I mean, I have no doubt that those teams will do that, and it's something where it should be, if you're selling your league, it should be against the rules for owners to come in and decide that they want to ban certain groups of players from certain countries. Right? People will say, "Oh, that's hypocritical. Like Australia aren't playing Afghanistan. Afghanistan players can still come and play in the Big Bash. They're not banned as individuals. There's a moratorium on the two countries playing bilateral cricket at the moment, right? So there are distinctions between these things. So just wanted to be clear on the point that the Bangladesh Cricket Board is a shambles, has been for years. We know that. We also know it's pretty easy to tell that their citing of security concerns is not real, but it doesn't mean that they don't have some legitimate grievance and some legitimate concern to say that we don't want to go and be hosted by India at the moment when the Indian board is being actively hostile and antagonistic towards us, which maybe it's crazy, or maybe it shows some fortitude to be a board, to be a smaller, less powerful board that is going to have, there will be revenge for this. Even if they back down and play, there'll probably be revenge for this in other forms at some stage. There's some level of courage to say, well, we're going to stand up to the most powerful board in the room, and everybody else aside from, so the Pakistan board at the meeting voted with the Bangladesh board to say that they should be allowed to move, and everybody else voted with the BCCI to say that they should have to stay. So it tells you how the power split is, and we've had the word from the ICC saying it's too late, it's too logistically complicated to move games. It's never been too late or too logistically complicated to move games when the BCCI has wanted to do it, which they've done at every World Cup in living memory. There have been games moved for various reasons, usually citing security or operational reasons, police presence, something or other. There have been reasons why they've changed venues and dates, but that has happened every time that India's had a World Cup in the last, 4 editions.
Hard not to, when you say that, hard not to think of middle powers must act together, because if we're not on the table, we're on the menu. The Davos speech from Mark Carney the other day, which I'm not saying it's a direct like for like, I'm not suggesting that, but there is something in the idea of middle powers, and I don't know whether Bangladesh would consider themselves a middle power. Probably not really, if we're honest, but still, let's call them other full members. Neil Manthorpe's called them the small seven in the past. I don't think that's a bad way of seeing it. Where the middle powers can act together and act somewhat collectively to advance their position, because otherwise, if they try and acquiesce and if they try there'll probably be nothing they can do ultimately to satisfy the wants and the needs of those who are trying to extract every possible dollar they can for the interests of Indian cricket. We kind of know that, or Indian capital more generally. It's not just about the game; it's about those who stand to make the most amount of wealth out of it. So, yeah, it's all part of a similar kind of story in its own way.
Mm-hmm. On the knock-on of Bangladesh continuing to be a shambles, that is also continuing internally discontent. So Nazmul Islam, who was on the board, very much a loose unit, provoked the ire of players about a week ago when Tamim Iqbal, a legend of the Bangladeshi game, said something publicly, basically to say that the Bangladesh board needed to be careful because playing in a World Cup was really important, and they needed to try to make sure that they didn't miss the chance to play in a World Cup, right? Not a crazy position to take. Nazmul Islam put a post up that said, quote, "We've witnessed the emergence of another proven Indian agent," which is kind of crazy stuff. The Bangladesh Players Association was outraged by this. They demanded restitution from this board position. They said, "Such a remark by a board official about the most successful opener in Bangladesh's history who represented the country for 16 years is utterly condemnable." So he's already on the skids at this point, and then he gets doorstopped at a BCB event, sort of on the sidelines of an event, and asked about what they should do, like whether the players would lose out if they boycott this World Cup. And there might be differing translations of this because there are slightly different versions of it, but he says something like, "We are spending so much money on them. They are not being able to do anything in different places. Have we got any international awards? What have we done at any level? Let us now ask them for the money back after every time they couldn't play. Give us the money back. Why should there even be a question of compensating the players?" So he's basically said our players are shit. They've never won anything, and they have no right to ask us for money. We should ask them for our money back. So that also has gone down really bad.
I was going to say, where did that intersect with the industrial action of sorts that was taken during the BPL during the week?
Yeah, this is why.
Give us a sense of that.
So this was the cause of players then boycotting their own domestic league and saying, well, if you're going to trash talk us like that and sit on the board, we're not going to play. So I think
that was the trigger. Okay, I didn't quite know where this. Okay, right, that makes sense. Okay,
I think he's hit the skids now. I think he's out the door, as far as I can tell. Anyway, it's basically there's internal fighting and there's external fighting, and we should probably know within a few hours whether Bangladesh will bail out. But essentially, it doesn't matter. Either they pull out or they don't. But we know that there will be no playing ball from the ICC about, like, either they have to do a humiliating climb down for the financial reasons of not wanting to, like, their distributions, their ICC distributions will probably be affected if they don't go to this World Cup. There'll be arguments to say, well, we should cut their money for next time around because, they can't be trusted as a reliable participant.
Well, they probably will. That would be the flex, wouldn't it? You can't really see a world where there won't be
punished.
Revenge, if you like, punished. Yeah, because the revenues of Scotland entering the tournament would be less than Bangladesh being in the tournament, just by dint of the fact that Bangladesh is such a massive cricket market and Scotland isn't as yet. Hopefully, it will be one day. But Scotland, having not qualified, missed out, having played the last couple of these tournaments, could find themselves in at the last minute, which would be fascinating all of itself. The statement from ICC yesterday was very much isolated to the security concerns. So they were able to, so there's no way there'll be any pivot on that because, as you rightly say, the security claims don't seem as persuasive as they might have made out in the media. So, and it's been roundly rejected. So, yeah, the idea of ICC flipping when they've restricted their comments to security seems virtually impossible. So the question is, do Bangladesh suck it up? And do they now accept that they've had their chance to rebel? It hasn't gone as well as they would have liked, and they play the World Cup under sufferance somewhat, or do they maintain this stand? I think it's a sort of a toss of a coin, given how volatile Bangladesh is as a cricket board and indeed as a country at the moment. It's a fool's errand to predict what will happen next.
Yeah, well, and there's something to this feeling that there's a new government in town and they want to lay down a marker that they're not going to be pushed around. So it might not be a matter of, it's not really the cricket board's decision at this point. It's the government's decision more broadly as to whether they participate or not. So
okay, Okay, so that's a watching brief on the Bangladesh story. Can't rule out doing a third weekly, Jeff. If that goes completely wild, we'll see how we go. Staying with the theme of shambles, or Cricket USA or USA Cricket, more going on there during the week. We're going to talk about the Olympic Games later today with Glenn Maxwell, and what an incentive that is for a generation of cricketers who might be able to be Olympians, and what that might constitute, even if it is in a country that is a complete fucking shambles as it is in the States right now. But the administration of USA Cricket has it's run into another hurdle during the week.
Yeah, well, this has been going on for a while. So they declared bankruptcy at USA Cricket after being suspended by the ICC. And at this point, the ICC have realised, shit, like the Olympics thing could really be in trouble here. So, the Bangladesh situation, they don't want to get involved. But USA Cricket, they're saying, we're now taking over all expenses of USA Cricket. So they weren't willing to intervene with Afghanistan when the Taliban took over. They said, no, we have to respect the territorial integrity of member boards, blah, blah, even if they're run by a bunch of murdering psychos. But they have taken over USA Cricket because that's financially more important to them. So they put a proposal in that the ICC should directly pay all of the players and high-performance staff. The quote was, that the ICC will not allow the dysfunction of USAC to compromise USA's participation and competitiveness at global events. So a bit more punchy than you might expect. The key here is that the World Cups, the T20 World Cups, men's and women's, the US have qualified for both, and they're playing in the under-19s right now. So their participation there, if that pulls out, it means that, again, you've got to find a replacement team and all the rest of it. They're required in those tournaments. And the bigger one is that the Olympic presence, the USA has to have a team because the home team has to provide, there's a spot for the home team. There's only going to be 6 spots available. One of them will be the USA. So if USAC falls over, that could tank the entire sport's presence at the tournament if the US Olympic Committee decides that the sport is no longer tenable as a participant. So the ICC have gone directly to the US Olympic Committee to tell them how they're going to run the USA Cricket high performance system for the next couple of years. The promise, quote, to guarantee continuity and stability, i.e. they're going to pay the wages. The ICC will pay the wages. They offered a loan to the US committee, which turned it down, even though you would have thought it would have to have been dissolved after declaring bankruptcy. Apparently it exists in some form, the Black Knight style, both legs cut off, but still trying to fight. And there was also an ICC line that said they want to provide, quote, strengthened competition pathway for preparation. Basically, it means they're going to fund some level of domestic cricket in the USA so that there'll be something for those players to play. So they've taken over responsibility, the ICC, as to what tournaments get approved and don't get approved. Complete intervention. This is like they are fully operating USA Cricket now. It's being run by the ICC. By contrast with every other associate where they throw a few, tens of thousands or occasionally hundreds of thousands of dollars at them and say, do with that what you will, see you later. The USA has become the special case in world cricket because of the dreams of riches that may follow if they can get cricket working in that market.
Yeah, whenever an organisation has literal intervention from those above, it becomes like a marker in time. I know that even just in my little orbit, when the Victorian Labor Party experienced intervention in 1970, people still speak about it like 5.5 decades later. So, this will be a big thing for American cricket. Can they get their shit together in time, or is the Olympic Games going to be compromised? Imagine they fuck this up. Like, imagine the Olympic Games doesn't have cricket in it in LA. And that's not to say that the Olympics aren't compromised anyway. With the state of affairs in America at the moment, who knows where that country will be 2.5 years on from now. Again, good luck guessing what America looks like in the northern summer of 2028. But assuming that things broadly stay on the rails there and they can host an Olympic Games, then if cricket weren't in it, there will be hell to pay, because so much work's gone on behind the scenes by so many dedicated cricket people to get to this point. So many cricketing stories rely on it. I mean, I know I'm bang on about Brazil all the time, and I've got a vested interest in as far as, like, not a vested interest financially, but I feel fully committed, as do you, to the Brazilian story. And so much of the income they're collecting right now from the Brazilian government is due to the fact that cricket's an Olympic sport, $1 million a year. To have that carpet pulled from underneath them if cricket does miss out here would be substantial, not just for the teams that are playing, not just for the potential of winning a gold medal or being an athlete at an Olympics, but for all sorts of people who are below the radar, who are now by extension beneficiaries of cricket reaching that status. So, yeah, let's wish the ICC well on that front.
Yeah, but it is curious that these are the grounds in which they're willing to intervene, rather than many other ones where there was a strong argument that they should have, but we've always been told that they can't. A little something we missed, Adam, through the Ashes when we were busy was Laura Wolvaart's hot run. Played a series against Ireland, made a T20 century and then 2 ODI centuries in the space of 6 games while Ireland were touring South Africa. So she's up to 13 one-day tons now. The Lanning record still stands for the time being, the 15 one-day hundreds, but you've got Mundana at 14, Wolvaardt on 13 with Susie Bates, Tammy Beaumont 12, and Nat Sciver-Brunt 10. It's going to go soon, but who's going to get it?
It's a bit like the England runs. Was it the runs record or was it the tons record? Gooch 8,900, and there was it Gooch for tons as well? I can't remember anymore. But those numbers sat for so long, and there were players hovering around it. Then a bunch of them went past it all roughly at the same time. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be the same here. If I was guessing, I would say the most likely to get there will be Wolvaardt, just because she's in this ridiculous run of form. But yeah, Beaumont's a chance to get to 15. Sciver-Brunt should as well. She's got plenty of cricket left in her. You'd say that she'll get 5 more one-day hundreds before she's finished. So that's fun. We'll keep an eye on that. I don't think Susie Bates will get there, although she's still available and playing. She's been stuck around 12, 13 for many years now.
So long, yeah, just very, incrementally. I think, or Mundana could have 25 by the time she's done. Who knows? The way that she's going, and surely she takes over soon. Like surely Harmanpreet's got to wrap up soon. What is she? 37 now. She's had the World Cup. She'll play that T20 World Cup. But anyway, I think the thing that caught my eye with the Laura Wolvaardt bit though was. So she was named the prestigious, the time-honoured ICC Player of the Month. Who doesn't struggle to fall asleep at night thinking of that?
Let's not talk down a panel that for a time I was on. In the inaugural days of the ICC Player of the Month, they had 2 reps from each country or something. I was the Australian rep. I did it for about 3 or 4 months. They said they were rotating it and they were going to do a different person. I think I just got, I don't know, I don't think anyone else took over, or whether they did. I had to know. I didn't follow it that closely, but my very brief reign as a voter on this panel. So I hope that it's the honour of it. I mean, to be fair, we were sent through like 2 names and like pick the winner out of it. It wasn't that robust, but anyway. So Laura Wolvaardt is the Player of the Month. Yeah,
well, so just a little theme on our show has been shit ICC copy. So it starts here. I'm delighted to be named the ICC Player of the Month once again. She's credited with saying, to win it 2 times in 3 months is very special and something I'll cherish for a long time. Is it? At the end of your career, are you going to go, remember when I won Player of the Month 2 times in 3 months? Or are you going to remember other things? But there was some other stuff that came through from the magnificent copywriters at the ICC who are definitely not using ChatGPT to do these things these days. Marriott Bonvoy signed up as a sponsor. Jay Shah is quoted as saying, we are thrilled to welcome Marriott Bonvoy into a partnership that reflects a shared ambition to redefine how fans experience the game of cricket. How are you going to do that?
Hang on. What a Marriott Bonvoy do?
Hotel chain. So by having hotels, by having fans stay in hotels, they're going to redefine how you experience cricket, because you're going to stay at a hotel when you travel somewhere to watch the cricket. That's going to redefine. Oh,
sorry, right. The Marriott. Sorry, I was focused more on the Bonvoy bit than the Marriott bit, but the Marriott. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, yes, you're right. They're clearly running this through some sort of ChatGPT. That's exactly the rhythm of an AI sentence.
Now, Sanjog Gupta, who after his triumph of a Christmas card that he sent out, had this one for the beverage company that they've teamed up with called AB InBev, which I think they're the Budweiser lot. This is magnificent stuff from Sanjog here. The quote, AB InBev has been at the forefront of creating experiential activations to grow and deepen fandom. This partnership is a natural alliance between organizations striving to elevate moments, create memories, and deliver experiences via innovation in avenues for fan engagement. We look forward to co-delivering multimodal event experiences across our tournaments and amplifying excitement for the sport around the world. What the fuck does that mean, Sanjog? What does that mean? What are you saying?
He's
Multimodal
been done dirty
event
there.
Experiences.
He's been done dirty because these things get barely looked at. When you're the principal and there are quotes at the bottom of a press release, you are giving it. It's not something that would be on his to-do list to rewrite that copy. It would be like, fine, whatever. Believe me on this one. He'd be like, fine, whatever. I don't care.
Yep. And just the last little bit is the ICC's advice, which, quote, officially confirmed the authorised travel agents for the T20 World Cup. To avoid counterfeit tickets and unreliable sellers, fans are strongly advised to purchase official ICC travel and tour packages only through authorised agents. Now, this went out on January the 7th for a tournament that starts on February the 7th that is still, to this moment, a chance to have one of the groups move to another country. That's not going to happen, but it could still happen. Like, the unreliability of these tournaments, and then to get pious about how you should use the official travel agents. Hot tip, no one's travelling for the T20 World Cup. No one's going. No one's going from outside the general area because it's too hard to do. It's too hard to line up. It's too hard to organise travel at that late stage. That's why no one went to the 50 over World Cup from outside India either. Sorry, guys. You can't run shambolic tournaments that don't have the dates confirmed until a few weeks beforehand and expect people to show up.
We talk about reliability, Jeff. Do you know who you can rely on and can depend on? Maurice Blackburn Lawyers. They've been going since 1919 when their country said son. They are Australia's #1 plaintiff law firm. They are the principal partner of the Final Word in season 19, as they were in season 18, and hopefully will be again in season 20. The princes and princesses of the Final Word, the principal partner of what we do here on the show. Over 107 years, some of the best lawyers in Australia across 30 offices, but of course accessible in all the usual places via our show notes. And part of what we do, we tell you the stories of when they've helped hardworking Australians in a tough spot. That includes Mark, who had a car accident. He was at a traffic junction when a car slammed into the back of his. He hurt his neck badly, which resulted in restricted mobility and day-long migraines. With his ability to work reduced, his earnings decreased. Once Mark had started the process, he quickly realised how beneficial it was to have legal support through Maurice Blackburn. Mark sustained injuries in the road accident, so it meant he was eligible for compensation through the TAC, so the Traffic Accident Commission. For Mark, this included treatments to reduce his pain, such as consultations with neurosurgeons and pain specialists, and undergoing radiofrequency denervation. Mark was also compensated for his lost wages because of the accident. So, as he says here, you need people on your side, and Maurice Blackburn does that remarkably well, reflecting on his experience. So, set off the top, learn more about Maurice Blackburn in the show notes there for hardworking Australians from coast to coast, and have been doing so for more than a century. Jeff, we'll pause there. We'll return with heaps more on this very busy second edition of the Final Word Weekly. It is the Final Word. It's Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon with you. We've been talking about mostly overseas matters today, and we'll kind of stay abroad for the time being, although what is abroad these days? I live in the UK. Jeff lives in Portugal. He's currently in Australia. We often meet in other far-flung parts of the world. One of them from time to time is the UAE, where the T20 has just finished up season 4. I had a bit of a drive-by at that last week. Mm-hmm. But Jeff, you were tickled by
fair enough.
Some of the presentational stuff.
Well, while I was looking up bad copy and bad PR marketing and so on, did you know that the T20 awards, obviously you have to have awards now in tournaments, and they've looked at the IPL with their purple hats and all the rest of it, and they've said, how can we do it differently? They've got belts. They give out belts in the T20. So you've got a belt for the most wickets, belt for the most runs, a belt for MVP, a belt for the best UAE player, the local player. Guess what? Mohammed Wasim has a fucking mortgage on that. He's won it every single time. And then the best part of all,
he's got a few belts.
He's got a few.
He never needs to buy a belt again.
Never needs to buy a belt again. Although, I'll come to that in a moment. The other one, the 5th belt, is a black belt, because we all know that black belts are cool, Cobra Kai and all that shit. which goes to the franchise owner. Like, imagine being like the rich dude who owns the team and they go, here's your belt. Now, when I say belts, I'm not talking about this is going to hold your strides up while you head out for a night on the town. We're talking like WWE style, like Boxing Federation belts.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm imagining big Dean Lucan style belts, big weightlifter belts strapped around the midriff.
The ceremonial ones, like these have like a Flavor Flav clock in the middle of it, right? Like the size of the circle in the middle is that big. It's wall clock size. And it's it's more like an Andre the Giant style belt that you put on, made of, it looks like some kind of plastic stuff that would be very unbreathable. So imagine like how sweaty and hideous it is. And then, some rich sort of IPL owner type just kicking around in his luxury penthouse apartment, just in the birthday suit, except for the belt, just got the IPL owner's belt on, opening the door to whoever's lucky enough to come over and celebrate with a winner. What a concept.
I can see that Slamming Sammy Curran has got some belts out of all of this, Jeff, you've noted.
Yeah, he won two.
He's got a red one, he's got a green one, because he had a very good tournament. But I just noticed that when I've been flicking through the telly the last few days, Winnie and I like to go channel surfing together. It's a thing we do together, in as far as like it's so foreign to her, like because she's so, her experience with TV, I mean, you've seen it firsthand. It's through, dialing up what she wants when she wants, as all of us do. But, she's never known what it is to have a TV station. She's fascinated by things that are live. She's like, what? That's happening right now. And I'm seeing it right now. And the best way to show that and to demonstrate that to her is when we put on the cricket channel, and the SA20 is dominating the cricket channel at the moment here on Sky Cricket. And I noticed a beautiful little bit of feature work they did, VT work they did, was with the St George's Park Band at Port Elizabeth the other day. And I saw Sam Curran playing. And there's a roundabout way of saying, have all the IL T20 players just gone across to play at the back end of the SA20, which is, we're into the finals at the moment? Is there just a straight transfer of labour from one continent to the other?
Yep. Didn't Curran go to play for the Sixers? Isn't he playing in Australia at the moment, Sam Curran? Pretty sure he is. Tom
plays for the...
Tom's for the Stars. But...
Oh, maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe it was the Big Bash we were watching, not the SA20. I fully acknowledge that when I was watching T20 cricket on the TV, I may not have quite clocked which tournament we were flicking through. It's been a busy couple of weeks.
It could be. I couldn't swear to it either. I reckon he's around. I think I've seen him in Magenta maybe before. Whoever finishes up there, they go straight on to something else. Faulty. That is broadly the case. So as well.
I guess the point I'm making more widely is even though we've got these overlapping 4 tournaments right now, I saw Chris Wokes won the Bangladesh Premier League during the week or something. Like they move, it isn't. We're seeing some efficiencies here where they're going from one to the next without it being too much of a thing.
Yeah, exactly that. Because that's just what you got to do. Move on to the next thing, and whatever, you lost a final in something, go play it in something else. The Under-19 World Cup is going along at the moment. I think the story of this tournament so far is that in the group stage, Afghanistan have been dominating. Their Under-19s team is flying. They smashed South Africa. They smashed West Indies. They beat Tanzania, which was not unexpected at that point. So they're 3 from 3 at the top of their group, and South Africa will play West Indies to decide who goes through, it looks like. England 3 from 3 as well. Pakistan could still get knocked out of that if they lose to Zimbabwe. India have won 2 from 2 that they've played, and then New Zealand keep getting rained off, so they're second with 2 no results at the moment, ahead of Bangladesh and the USA. And Sri Lanka and Australia have won 2 apiece, with Ireland and Japan behind them. Will Malachay set the record for the tournament for the fastest 100 of 51 balls against Japan the other day for Australia. So there's a fair bit going on there, but I know we talked plenty of times about the difficulties of Afghanistan as a full member country, but they've got a bloody good crop of players coming through, it looks like.
Yeah, and I kind of feel for their younger players as well, because no matter what happens when Afghanistan play 19s cricket, all the stuff online is of the headshots of all the lads who, some of whom obviously look older than 19, in the same way that some guys in the Australian team look older than 19 as well. But, due to the history. And there's clearly some parts of this which are unverifiable with birth certificates. Let's remember the period of time that they've been born in, these young men. But yes, what's irrefutable is that there are some very capable players there. What we're going to do with the 19s, Jeff, is at some point we'll get Ben Jones on to give us a full briefing, because he's there commentating, doing TV out there and giving his part of our final word crew. He'll run us through it in a little bit more depth, but that will be as we get sort of towards the finals and they start to thin out a little bit. I'm also keen to get from Ben and from others, but especially Ben is out there, who's covering it, the Japanese story, the Japanese under-19 story. We talk a lot about teams who are reaching global tournaments who have never had the chance to play in one of them before. Well, this is a great example of one of those. And Japanese cricket's been of interest to me in the past at Fairbreak, where they've had a couple of representatives on the women's side, who some are veterans and some are younger, and other Japanese cricketers who at different points have played high levels of league cricket. Well, here's where their next generation are getting a chance on that global stage. Jeff, we will find out very soon which associate nations are making the Women's T20 World Cup. That qualifier began 4 days ago in Nepal. We've referred to that before because there are some bigger teams who are there. There are some smaller teams who are there. There are 2 spots available to the sides to get through to the big tournament in England in the middle of the year. So this is a huge moment for a lot of these teams, because we know how important it can be making a big-time World Cup for the first time.
And there'll be a Super Sixes stage on the way, so they've got 2 groups of 5. So 10 teams total, 6 will go to the next stage, and then out of that, they'll be the ones who go through. So it's 4 teams who go through from this tournament, I believe, to the full World Cup. So Bangladesh leading their group with 3 wins, and Ireland have won 2 from 2, second ahead of USA, PNG and Namibia. But what we're really interested in, Adam, Thailand are rock and rolling it at the moment. So they knocked off Nepal in game 1, and then they almost dropped their game to Zimbabwe. They were going along pretty nicely. I was watching this game, and had a mini collapse towards the end of their innings. So they ended up making 114, I'm going to say, 115, thereabouts. And you still felt like it could be enough against Zimbabwe, who are not a really strong batting side, but Zimbabwe were mashing it at one point. They were a couple down, but being really aggressive through the middle periods, and had about 40 runs to go, and then Thailand started turning the screws. They pulled the rein that we know that they have, which is like really tight in the fields, good movement across the ground, tight enough bowling, and just managed to keep the pressure on. And it came down to the last ball. There was 1 run needed from the last ball to tie the game and go to a super over. And this, the amount of pressure on this last delivery, pretty remarkable. So Panita Maya, who was the bowler, had the ball smacked back at her, like probably just needed to push it somewhere and try to take the run, but instead it was belted. And she managed to get in the way in her follow through, deflect it not too far away from herself, pick it up, and then run back to the non-striker stumps to beat the striker home and run her out without coughing up the single. So they won that game by 1 run, which means they're 2 from 2 in their group as well. They'll play Scotland and then the Netherlands, who are top of that group, with 3 from 3. So good news from there. But, we've been following the Thailand women's story for a long time, and they look very set to make the Super Sixes, and hopefully they can make it through there into that final qualifying burst.
I meant to say this a couple of weeks ago, but I mentioned that Kirsty Gordon's moved back to play for Scotland in this tournament. So there's some wider context to this. So it's basically this, that when we get to the Olympics, there will be, in all probability, an onus on Team GB picking a player from Scotland. So, yes, it's about her going back to her original country, where she made her international debut when she was like 15 or 16, having had the chance to represent England at a World Cup between times in 2018 and a few other internationals, including a test match in 19 against Australia in the Women's Ashes. But, yeah, for Kirsty Gordon, if you want to view it, a few years into the future, it's the chance for her to potentially get back into that setup and have the chance to, win an Olympic medal. So another, quirky one, but one to keep an eye on in the short term. Though Scotland, they should want to be one of those. Well, not just want to be. They should expect to be one of those 4 teams that go through. Given they've reached about 12th in the world now. Scotland, I reckon, in the world rankings. So they are there and thereabouts. Sticking with the women's game, the Women's Premier League is, nearing the end. The RCB unbeaten. They're 5 from 5 with 3 to go, which means they've already qualified for the postseason. Of course, no Elise Perry with injury, but some very useful players from around the world. And I mentioned Grace Harris the other day when I was interviewing Heather, but she's doing her thing again.
Yeah, quite entertainingly as well, complaining that Smriti Mandana doesn't talk to her enough. She's like, she doesn't say anything, and Grace Harris likes to go and have a chat when she's out there opening the batting, so that's been entertaining. I mean, pretty strong side. They've got Georgia Vole in there, Risha Ghosh and Radha Yadav as the Indian star contingent, and then Nadine de Klerk, who's been a revelation. That last Women's 50 over World Cup really sealed her star status. Lauren Bell's been taking a bunch of wickets for them. And that point I mentioned earlier, that Smriti Mandana has been getting plaudits for how she's led that side. And surely the time is almost here for Harmanpreet to move along and give the next player the shot. I mean, presumably she wants to push through to the T20 World Cup and see if she can. I mean, it's not like she's playing poorly, by the way. Harmanpreet's in the top couple of run scorers for the tournament, but whether it's just a leadership handover and try to get picked on your merits as a player, either or.
Yeah, I think that's the right time. T20 World Cup coming only 8 months after a 50 over World Cup. That makes sense. Go through to that. Try and go one better than they did the last time a Women's World Cup was held in England way back in 2017, which, again, going back to our Heather chat, feels an eternity ago, but also kind of feels like yesterday. There are so many players from that generation who are still around and still senior in the game, and Harmanpreet certainly one of those. She wasn't the captain then, but yeah, she will be the captain when they go to that tournament later in the year. Love that Sophie Devine's still going strong as well, Jeff. She's finished up with New Zealand, but still a real presence not finished up entirely. She's finished up in one-day cricket, but I'm still going strong in the shortest form.
And we are about to start, I think, the finals in the SA20, which is not a competition I've followed particularly closely, but they've got the same final structure as the Big Bash. So that's beginning, I think, today, actually, at the time we're recording. It'll be tonight, South African time. So in some hours from now, the Pretoria Capitals and Sunrisers Eastern Cape will play first in that top two. One to see who goes through to the final. They'll have knockouts with the Paarl Royals and the Joburg Super Kings. Can't wait for those. The only thing that confused me was Sunrisers Eastern Cape pop up as SEC, and I was like, wasn't that the electricity distribution service before it got privatised by Jeff Kennett? No. What was the SEC? Was that, the State Electricity Commission? Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was. Yeah. I think Daniel Andrews' government, the last election, promised to bring it back, didn't they? I don't know if that's exactly how it works. But anyway, I'm not across my state politics anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that it's all local players dominating, really, on the charts, the run charts, the wicket charts. Rickleton, De Kock, Markram, Hendricks, Rassie, Van der Dusen are all up the top of the batting. The Bartman and Unrik Nortje leading the wickets, and then not South African, but next door, Sikandar Raza coming in third on the wickets list, on the list of things that we love to see. The Super Smash is also running with the Northern Districts team leading that. So you've got 4 simultaneous leagues. 2 more about to start, 1 just finished, and the PSL will get going as well. They're going to have a player auction. They've been doing a draft system up until now, but they're shaking that up with a couple of new teams coming in. They've got the Gold Coast GWS priority picks, basically, where they're poaching some players off the other teams that everybody's annoyed about. And then Afghanistan are going to start their own T20 league. Can't wait. Looking forward to this. Another T20 league to be played in the UAE with 5 teams. And as a result, they've limited their own players to 3 other leagues per year. So that's interesting. Like Rashid Khan, for instance, plays SA20, plays the IL T20 league, plays the Major League one, plays IPL.
Sometimes it's an educative experience for me recording the final word when you can bring me up to speed with the bits that I didn't know about already. I hope everyone feels the same. We're not finished on that front, by the way. On the other side of the break that's coming up in a moment, we'll have Glenn Maxwell with us, and we'll be talking about the European T20 and his ownership stake and other bits that relate to that tournament. Before getting there, I have some good news. Our discount with Zeus Sleeps, and I've got that here actually. I've got lots of things on my desk. One of them is a Zeus. This is the beaten up Zeus I've taken all around the country with me, the box here. It says here, sleep refreshed. You can sleep refreshed with a 10% discount. So it was 5% through the Ashes. We've decided to, we've worked with our friends at Zeus and people have been loving this. So we thought, why not, given we're coming towards the end of our run with them in this particular stretch, why not double it? And that means with TFW 2026, so a tweak to the offer code, it was TFW 2025 for 5%. TFW 2026 gets you 10% off the Zeus. All of the clinical trials that have been done on this product over many years have borne fruit. So many people in the last year or so, since these things have been selling, have been sleeping more refreshed, have been sleeping better, have finally been able to get their tongue out of that spot at the back of their mouth, thrust forward with the electro waves that are tingling it and affecting the muscles there. I'm doing a bad job of explaining it, but you probably can pick up what I'm putting down. And the vast majority of people snore because of this. There are other reasons, but the vast majority, it's due to your tongue position. And this helps fix that bit, gets air going where it needs to get down so that you can sleep without the imposter snoring. And I should add, Valentine's Day coming up soon. And what better gift than the gift of sleep to your loved one? It was, that's also Winnie's birthday. I won't need to get her one of those, although she does snore a little bit, maybe when she's older. It was Rachel's birthday yesterday too, by the way. Hello, Rach, who's not listening. Love you very much. Crucially, the TFW 2026 will get you 10% off the Zeus. Why wouldn't you want to get yourself one of these? Sleep better in 2026, TFW 2026. Get it for someone for Valentine's Day. You're always, I know, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Jeff. Geff, I'm sure it's the same for you, Geff. I've only known you for 15 years. I'm sure it's the same for you, Jeff, that you're scrambling around for gifts at birthdays and Christmas and other special, it's hard when you've been with someone for a long time. Gifts are difficult. We got Rach for her birthday a sparkly dress because Winnie said to me, I want mum to have a sparkly dress. And that's what it comes to.
Yep. But I think we're missing a trick here. You don't get this for someone else as a present for Valentine's Day. You buy it. If you snore, you buy it to put on yourself, and that is your gift to your partner who has to sleep next to you or not sleep next to you, as the case may be, while listening to you snore. That is a far more considerate gift than giving something to them, is saying to them, I am willing to make an effort to try to change in order to make your life better. That is love personified. That is what is going to show somebody that you care on the 14th of February.
What's that line you hear all the time? I can change, babe. I can change. Well, you can change. You can sleep better. Sleep refreshed. Zeus in the show notes. TFW 2026. Buy it. Support an organisation who've supported us all the way through the Ashes and are doing great things with an outstanding product. Back with Glenn Maxwell after the break. It's me and it's him. It's the final word. It's season 19. It's episode 23. It's the last part. It's the sixth segment of our weekly this week. We've been busy boys. And we're going to have Glenn with us in a moment to talk about the European T20 tournament, Premier League, which is starting on the 26th of August. Jeff, I just want to take our audience into their confidence here. We recorded this with Glenn before this all went public, and that is to say there was the media release and the big media conference at Sydney yesterday. So we now know a little bit more about what's going on than we did when we spoke to Glenn. So it stands to reason that we would just run through a few of those bits and pieces. So 3 of the 6 teams have been sold, and that's been gone through yesterday. One of those is the group that Steve Waugh's involved in. One of them is the group that a bunch of former New Zealand cricketers are involved in, including Kyle Mills, that many Aussie cricket fans would remember from, was it hitting Brett Lee for 6 from the final ball of a Chapel Hadley game many, many moons ago? Have I got that right with Kyle Mills? And
a few others. He was that quintessential New Zealand all-rounder, decent seam bowler and could whack them. So after Chris Cairns, there were a bunch of those that came through, the Jacob Oram types, the Scott Styris types. And Kyle Mills was a personal favourite for a couple of years when had the curls, could hit everything straight from what I remember. I don't think he was a leg slide slogger. He was a long on, long off kind of 6-hitter, and I liked that.
Yep. And then there's the Belfast operation. So there's going to be a team in Dublin and a team in Belfast. and the Belfast operation has got Glenn involved, and he will lead the team. You'll have seen probably on social media by now that he's going to be the marquee name in that, but also he's got his ownership stake, which we'll talk to him about why and all the rest of it in a moment. Other Australians are involved as well, which we rattle through in the interview. But that means, of course, there are 3 teams that are still unsold. Now, I've done some journalism, Jeff, don't do heaps of it these days, but I have done some journalism. I know, stop the clock. So the 4th team is very close. And then they've got the expectation is once they've announced the 4th team, the 5th team will be announced shortly thereafter. And then the 6th team is expected to actually maybe not be an IPL team. It might be another conglomerate. So there's a little bit to play out here, but so long as they sell 4 teams, this tournament will run this year. So there's been understandable sort of cynicism online about why only 3 teams, and I get that. But as long as they get to a 4th, they will run the tournament in 2026. They'll have 2 teams that are not owned, but they'll run the teams anyway. Presumably, it'll be run by the host. Will be run by the Dutch or the Scottish or the Irish Cricket Board for a year while they get the suitable investment. The other point that's been raised online, and again, fair enough, is that they valued the teams at 30 million each across that 10-year stretch, and now they've been sold reportedly for 15 mil each. So where's the 15 mil gone? And this has been a pragmatic decision arrived at because the market wasn't as hot as they wanted. There was sales going on roughly the same time as the 100 teams were in market, and that had an effect as well. So they're happy to go with what they've got, and they're happy to back the product once they get it on the park. And having marquee names like Steve Smith and Mitchell Marsh and Glenn Maxwell from Australia, they expect will help with that. So look, it's one of those ones where they have changed the dates of it. It was going to be played earlier in the summer. They're trying to give it more space in a more isolated window. They are trying to get on the front foot by announcing what they've got. It can't be easy with a tournament that's gone badly and been cancelled so many times, although this is different to the tournament that was announced all those years before. There's a different board and a different organisation running it, but still, in the public eye, it's just the same thing, right? With 2 teams from each of the European nations. And yeah, that's what we know coming into this period of time, that they're very, very close to having uplift on this. And the announcement during the week was a major step in the right direction.
Well, the public concept is just here is a European league, which is the same thing that they've talked about in a bunch of previous years and haven't been able to get up. And so, it's not going to live or die on the basis of having a couple of high-profile players. Steve Smith went and played in the global T20 Canada, and it didn't help that become a world-beating prospect. So there's plenty of work ahead if the people running this want to make this work. But let's hear from Glenn Maxwell about what he's got to do with it.
Always great to have returning guests on the show. The man who's been on more than any other, Australian superstar, Glenn Maxwell. The Stars are about to go into a finals campaign, but we're not here to talk to you about that. We're here to talk to you about your first foray into team ownership with the Irish Wolves in the European T20 Premier League. G'day, Maxi.
How are we going, lads? Different chat this time.
Yeah, a little bit like that. This is quite interesting, obviously, that you're at the stage of your career and the stage of your journey when you're moving, not back office necessarily. You'll be playing and leading this Irish Wolves team, but also making the decision to stake some of your own money in it, investing in a new tournament and team.
Yeah, I think a 9-to-5 desk job is probably next after that. So, we're slowly making the transition out of the game and dabbling in other areas where I'm really interested. And I think looking at what this tournament has to offer, the timing with the Olympics not far away, I think it's a wonderful time to be involved and hopefully in a position where we can help grow cricket in Europe.
Famously, Ireland, a country full of wolves. What was it about the Irish bid, the wolf-related bid, the natural kingdom? What was it that drew you to this team?
Well, I think the wolves is probably in reference to my hairiness. I reckon, Jeff. I think that's probably all I can think of. But I'm not really sure where the name came up, but certainly happy to be a part of it.
So it's a consortium effort, just to give some architecture here. The European comp that's had many attempts of getting off the ground. The difference this time being 3 teams are going to be run by IPL ownership teams and 3 teams will be run by other private equity. And you're in one of those. So there's an Amsterdam team that's going to be similarly run too, as I understand it. But, this consortium you're involved in includes Greg Borer. That's interesting to me, the chair of ACT Cricket, allegedly worth $17 billion. He owns the Southern Cross Cricket brand that you've recently signed with as well. So a pretty heavy hitter from Australia who'll be there alongside it with you.
Yeah, nice to be involved in another project with Greg as well. He has been extremely successful in his business career, and he's a really impressive man. And obviously, we've started on a new venture with the Southern Cross Cricket Switch brand, and looking forward to probably doing some more work around that as the years go on, and as I start to sort of phase out of the game, but continue to sort of work, I suppose, in the gear. The gear part of the world, which has always been interesting to me. So to have this other project, I suppose, going on at the same time is, it's exciting, and gives me something, I suppose, outside of actually playing to really concentrate on and be involved with.
Glenn, in terms of the franchise world, we talk about it growing and growing. The IPL's getting bigger, the hundreds getting IPL-ified, SA20's already gone that way. There's 4 different T20 tournaments going on simultaneously at the moment, I think off the top of my head. You've got this one, which they've tried to get through for a few years. It's fallen over a few times. It's more likely to happen this time, it seems. Why is this one going to work? Why is it going to fit in terms of the window, in terms of the scheduling, and why is this the one that you want to get involved?
Firstly, the timing is probably perfect. It's heading into our summer. It's a nice little window just before we head into the Aussie summer. It's the end of the English summer as well. And it's in Europe. It's a great place to be. We don't really get a whole lot of opportunities in our international playing to get over there. So I think to be a part of the first, I suppose, edition of this tournament is something that I was really excited to do. I think having missed out on probably the first year of the 100, I think due to COVID, having missed out of the first year of the MLC, when I wasn't really sure if the timing was right with the way I was playing international cricket at that time, and how much was going on in the background. I think to be a part of the first edition and to be there right from the start is something that really excites me, and to sort of see how the growth of the competition goes from the start. There'll probably be some teething, as there are with all comps that are starting, and to work through those things and come out to different resolutions, I think is something I'm probably looking forward to being a part of.
It's a fairly hefty window, isn't it? So 34 matches, they'll be played in Amsterdam, then Belfast, then Dublin, so that the tournament will move around starting on the 26th of August. So just to be clear, it won't compromise your involvement in, say, the 100 or, of course, the Blast, which precedes it, or the MLC that comes just before that as well. You'll still have all your options available to you, and it should mean that players like you who are kind of on that T20 domestic circuit can carve out a place in late August, early September without much compromise?
Yeah, I haven't looked at the international window at all, but I'd say that's probably the only thing that probably compromises it slightly for the guys that are playing all 3 formats for their country. I'm not sure what games are on during that time or where different countries are, but it's actually quite a nice little window which has been hopefully left open for this. Some high-profile names being a part of it, and I think we always talk about the development of the local players as much as possible. Having those big international names to be able to share wisdom, play a part of the side, and we only got to look at the MLC growth over the last few years and the American team and how they've developed over the last few years. Playing with international quality players has only made them a better outfit individually as players, and then when they bring all that information as a team, it's only made them more competitive and potentially a future powerhouse at some stage.
Did you consider Amsterdam and getting involved with the Dutch lot, given that you probably owe them a few apologies after what you did to them in Delhi?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. As I said, to be involved with a team in Belfast is something I'm extremely excited about, and I absolutely love Ireland. I've only been there a handful of times and been to Dublin a bunch of times, but to get over to Belfast and really experience Europe as a player while I'm playing, and be able to, I suppose, hopefully feel the excitement and joy throughout the town and city, and hopefully bring some more people to the game and inspire some young cricketers in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be that point of difference, right? Going to Dublin in the Republic of Ireland and then going up to Northern Ireland with Belfast, and that United Ireland team, it's a good part of an important part of the Irish cricket story. So you'll get to sample both through the tournament. You mentioned Olympics before. Now, it strikes me that, we are, what are we, 2.5 years away from that. Steve Smith's on the record now repeatedly saying that what's motivating him late in his career is to make the Olympic Games. Do you think that's going to work for a lot of cricketers, even yourself for that matter, trying to see that maybe as the finish line, accepting that the chance to be an Olympian is such a rare thing?
Yeah, it is. And it's probably an interesting time for a lot of our group. I think a a lot of us are post 35-ish, um, and are probably squeezing the last bit of juice out of the can. So it's interesting how people are going to try and, I suppose, get themselves to that point in 2028, and if that's their motivating factor to keep going. I'm not sure when I'm going to go to. I haven't sort of bookmarked the Olympics as a finish point, but yeah, it'd be nice to get there. But I think thinking that far ahead has probably got me into trouble in the past of not being able to look at the present. So I think if I get there, great. If I don't, it's not going to be the be all and end all.
But I think we can assume from that means you're not necessarily packing up after the T20 World Cup. So we'll take that as read. Maxwell says 3 more years.
It's not quite Trump saying 4 more years or anything like that. I haven't put a line through anything. I haven't made any plans for retirement. As much as I begrudgingly did the ODI announcement, I'd much rather just like fizzle off into the distance and carry on more with my other projects.
We enjoyed that. That was a good interview. So let's not begrudge it too much. It will be fun though. We'll let you get back to prepping for your next game of cricket, which is for the Stars. It'll probably give away when we're recording this. I don't know when we'll drop it out. But what I do know is that Jeff and I will join you in Belfast. That much I'm fairly certain of. So we'll see you between times, Maxi. But congratulations on this new venture. It sounds really exciting. Best of luck with it, and we'll speak to you again around the T20 World Cup.
Looking forward to seeing you there, guys.
And that's where we'll leave it. Thank you to Glenn for jumping on as always. I think we will why don't we try and do a couple of segments with Glenn during the T20 World Cup, Jeff? I don't think it'll be hard for us to get him on the line over there. So let's keep close with him as he goes and strives for another T20 World Cup, of course, the tournament that he was part of hitting the winning runs of, indeed, back in 2021. And the very best of luck to everybody who's behind the scenes there in Europe trying to stick the landing, as we were talking about before our chat with Glenn. And that's us done as well. A weekly show that's turned into more than 2.5 hours of weekly programming for the week, including Heather Knight and Glenn Maxwell. And of course, we had the Sonny Baker interview a couple of days before that. So as ever, can't stop, won't stop. If you want to be part of our community, the best place to do that is at patreon.com/thefinalword. And what does that get you? The chance to win some of the scarce amount of Final Word beer that's left, or indeed any other beer in the Stomping Ground range. You can win a case of that. If you join up on Patreon, I'm going through it with Tubes this afternoon to rattle through and welcome everybody who's joined us over the last few months, which is terrific. A big surge of enthusiasm around that. And I'm sure that's related to Stomping Ground. So great beer. Speaking of Tubes, Jeff, I'm not sure if you saw the photograph we posted on our stories, but his old man, Ted, was drinking a tin of Stomping Ground Final Word only last night. So there's a nice link back to our wider Final Word team with Tubes running the show here in the UK for us. And with us, and we've got that opportunity for people to join us, support the excessive program that we're occasionally doing, World Cup dailies that are coming from the subcontinent in a couple of weeks as well, and in doing so, give themselves a chance to win some excellent beer that we've got our name on the cans of.
That's it. That's how you win it. You listen, you sign up, join Patreon, or if you're already on there, up your pledge to something else and listen to Storytime. It's as simple as that, and you will hear your name read out. So that's it. That's us. It's all of the weeklies. Is it a weekly? If you've done more than one, I can't tell you that. That is up to others to decide. But for now, we're out of here. We'll see you next time.